The coolers are stocked, snacks are packed, and the volunteers are ready. One last prayer and a quick debriefing before heading out to brave another cool night. John Cassells, the managing director of this operation, fills us in.
There is a small area in the downtown core where teenage boys and young men would traditionally work the streets for the purpose of prostitution. And that's the area we'll be stopping in tonight with our motorhome.
And that's downtown Toronto?
That's right down near College and Bay.
This is Light Patrol, a ministry of Youth Unlimited, the Toronto chapter of Youth for Christ. Their focus? The city's most forgotten, homeless youth. And while everyone else rushes out of the busy downtown core, another world begins to emerge as the Light Patrol team heads in. Once they arrive, they are greeted by a group of young people. And as some of the kids nestle into the van and dig into a warm meal, for a couple of minutes, these homeless youth have found refuge. While the number of young people that live on the streets in Canada is unknown, it's safe to say it's in the thousands, some running away from abuse, some simply looking for freedom. Tonight, Light Patrol is here on College and Bay in Toronto, also known as Boys Town, reaching out to some of those young people. So John, explain to me, we're in Boys Town now.
Yes.
Why do you park here?
Well, Boys Town is an area where there's a lot of homeless youth. Some of the young boys will actually work the stroll here for the purposes of prostitution. Most of the kids are homeless and not involved in the sex trade, but it's a popular place for youth to meet us.
Since the ministry's inception in 2002, Light Patrol has worked hard to develop that trust among the street-involved youth they work with, providing food, clothes, toiletries, and other items that make life on the streets a little more bearable. But as I found out, the story of homelessness in Toronto has many layers. And, I mean, you know, we're right across from Women's College Hospital. We're really downtown. And during the day, I mean, this is a business area. So it kind of shocks me that this is the stroll, like you were calling it.
The whole thing is very shocking. Just hard to imagine a young boy's journey from an abusive home, coming to the streets, and perhaps developing an addiction and really doing things he would never have dreamed of to support his new habit.
It's an issue that is rarely discussed, prostitution among homeless boys. According to John, 20 to 30% of the boys living on the streets of Toronto will engage in prostitution just to survive, some starting as young as 14 years old. And their clients, quite often, are suburban men with families. And you mentioned that there are internet cafes around here, and that also is a contributing factor in all of this.
Well, sure, prostitution has really shifted to the internet now, and so very little of it can be seen at street level. It's set up on the internet. Sometimes gentlemen from other cities who are going to be here on business will arrange in advance to meet up with the young people on the streets of our city, just through Craigslist, through private sites that are geared towards prostitution.
So it really just becomes a transaction.
Absolutely.
Now, what percentage of the young people that come here are homeless?
The young people that we see at this stop, I would say 8 or 9 out of 10 would be homeless. They may be sleeping on the streets, they may be sleeping in the shelters. A lot of them will stay overnight in the internet cafes, but a lot of them, through Facebook and other means of social networking, will find places that they can sleep for 1 or 2 nights. So couch surfing is as big as ever.
It's those stories that bring Blair out each week, one of the many volunteers dedicated to do what he can to reach out to anyone who comes by. He knows Light Patrol provides hope for many of these kids.
It breaks my heart. It absolutely does. Every single week you see these people and you realize that something's happened in their lives that has caused them to be here, whether they're 16 or 18 or 20 years old, where they don't want to go home, where maybe they're not welcome home, or maybe something's happened in their past, whether it's with school or with church or with friends, and they feel that they have no other place to go other than the street. And you just hope and pray that they will, look to us for some sort of, safe haven.
The night we were out with the Light Patrol team, we met a young man named Brian. Originally from BC, he returned to Toronto after his marriage fell apart and found himself battling a drug addiction.
And what is it like being on the streets, especially in Toronto?
It's not fun. I mean, after my Jeep went to the impound, I was literally sleeping in parks and laneways and stuff like that. But people at the van here gave me a nice warm sleeping bag, so at least I had that for a good long while.
Yeah.
Till that went missing too. And unfortunately, I lost a lot of stuff. Somebody stole my knapsack that I actually got again from the van, and it had a lot of really personal stuff in it. So it was kind of a little bit disheartening.
So if Light Patrol wasn't around, what would you do?
I'm sure I'd probably be about 15 or 20 pounds lighter right now, and I probably would have had a lot more freezing nights this winter, and a lot more stinky days actually. And they've made sure I've kept in clean socks and stuff like that. And in the winter they gave me some gloves, which are, gloves are things that go missing fast on the streets. So I knew that I could come back here at least once a week, and if I needed to, and get another pair of gloves to keep my hands warm. I mean, it's the little things like that you really take for granted sometimes.
Now looking for a new job and living in a small apartment, there's hope for Brian.
I'm trying to find work. I'm trying still to live a life. I don't want to be, dirty and smelly and stinky, because who's going to hire a guy like that? And it's just it's important when you're down at your worst in your life to do the little things that you can do to try to keep your spirits up. And being clean is a big thing for me. It makes me feel really good. Just being able to walk down the street and not have people kind of look at you because you're unshaven or because you smell.
What are some misgivings or misunderstandings you think people have about young people that live on the street?
I think by and large that people automatically assume that if you're living on the streets that you are a drug addict, or that you have some kind of dysfunction, whether it be mental or physical or socioeconomic, whatever the case may be. And I really don't, or that that people are choosing this. By and large, most of the people that I've met that live on the streets are here because life has kind of put them there. They didn't make a conscious choice. I mean, nobody's sitting around in grade school and high school going, "Hey, when I grow up, I want to be homeless," But I think a lot of people really misunderstand kind of why people are out on the streets. And I think a lot of people just turn a blind eye. They really don't want to think about it. It kind of depresses their perfect little world for a lot of folks anyway.
It was that ambivalence towards the homeless that bothered Tim Huff. Tired of seeing people turn a blind eye to this growing problem in Toronto, especially among the youth of the city, he decided to start Light Patrol with the intent of bridging a gap that was only widening.
We do know that the urgency of getting young people off the street makes all the difference in the world. There's been all kinds of statistics that prove that the quicker we can move people from the streets, the quicker we get them away from the drugs, from sexual exploitation, all kinds of things. So there's an urgency, there's a hope factor. We can still capture their dreams when they're young, we can still capture their education, all kinds of things. So we're starting there.
And that is the goal every time the volunteers step out onto the streets of Toronto. Provide food, clothing, but also hope, options, and a way out. Tomorrow on 100 Huntley Street, we will explore the issues homeless youth are facing, discuss how the church can get involved in the conversation, and we'll introduce you to a young woman named Kayla, exposed to the street life at an early age, find out how she's turning her life around with the help of Light Patrol.